Are you as smart as you think you are? I want you to really just sit with that question for a second.
It's a pretty confronting way to start, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Because the core premise of today's deep dive is going to completely challenge, well, basically everything you thought you knew about your own brain.
Oh, absolutely.
We are diving into a really incredible stack of notes, theories, and historical philosophy, all centering around one fascinating document. It's called You Think You're Smart, Plato, Socrates, and Satoshi Nakamoto Disagree.
And what's fascinating here is that the central argument completely redefines intelligence. It's not a fixed trait you're born with. It's not a single number on an IQ test.
Right, it's a ladder, a five-step ladder. And the deeply uncomfortable truth we're going to explore today is that most of us spend our entire lives stuck on the very bottom rung of this ladder, completely 100% convinced that we've already reached the top.
Yeah, moving up this ladder isn't just about raw brain power or accumulating more trivia facts. It is fundamentally about shifting how you perceive reality, how you understand rules, and how you interact with other people. It requires a complete restructuring of your worldview at every single step.
Exactly. So our mission today is to guide you up this five-step ladder. We are going to clearly define all five levels so you can honestly evaluate exactly where you are operating right now, and perhaps more importantly, uncover exactly why you might be stuck.
I think people are going to be surprised by where they actually sit.
Oh, for sure. Let's start at the very beginning. Level 1, the pawn. Now, in any system, the pawn is the most replaceable piece on the board, right?
By definition, yeah.
These are the people whose primary goal in life is simply to blend in. They never want to stand out, they never want to challenge anything, and they completely accept the ready-made reality handed to them by their parents, their teachers, society.
To them, whatever they are told is the absolute objective truth. There's no questioning.
Right, and there's a classic way to picture this.
Yeah, think about Plato's Allegory of the Cave. We've all kind of heard the basic setup: people chained in the dark since birth, necks locked in place, staring at shadows on a wall cast by a fire behind them.
Right, they see the shadow of a horse or a bird, hear echoing voices, and naturally assume those shadows are the entire universe.
Exactly. But what's truly fascinating here isn't the physical cave itself. It's the social dynamics of the prisoners. The person they treat as a genius, the one they celebrate and revere, is simply the prisoner who has best memorized the order of the shadows.
Wait, so the so-called smartest person in their entire society is essentially just a biological pattern matcher?
That's all they are.
They don't actually understand what a horse is. They just know the horse shadow usually comes right after the bird shadow.
And that is the defining characteristic of a level 1 intellect. They mistake predictability for profound wisdom. But the real test happens when one of those prisoners actually breaks their chains. Because the physical reality of escaping is brutal. Their legs are weak from a lifetime of disuse. Turning their neck for the first time causes sharp shooting pain.
Oh, and facing the actual fire behind them physically burns their unadjusted eyes?
Yes, they are terrified.
Yeah.
But in that painful moment, they realize that everything they thought was real was just a flickering, artificial projection.
And climbing out of the cave into the actual sunlight is even worse, at least initially, right? Because they are completely blinded. The overwhelming instinct has to be to just turn around and run right back into the dark where it's safe and familiar.
It's pure survival instinct. But if they stay, their eyes slowly adjust. They see actual trees, real water, the actual sun, the sky. And the crushing realization hits them. The cave was a lie the entire time.
Which sets up the tragic twist of level 1.
It really is tragic. Overwhelmed and excited, the escapee runs back down into the pitch-black cave to save their friends.
But their eyes are no longer adjusted to the dark.
Right, so they stumble over rocks, they trip, and when they frantically try to explain that the shadows aren't real, they sound like a complete and utter lunatic.
And the friends still chained to the wall don't just politely disagree, do they? They laugh at the escapee. They conclude that the trip outside actually ruined this person's brain.
They actively fight to stay chained. They choose to keep staring at the wall because the darkness is familiar and comfortable. The fundamental takeaway for you, listening to this, is that thinking for yourself is genuinely, physically, and emotionally painful.
Most people are so deeply afraid of the sunlight of truth that they will aggressively defend their place in the cave.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this and move up the ladder. If you somehow manage to break those chains and endure the painful sunlight, you reach level 2, the book player.
Mm-hmm.
sometimes called the bishop.
This is a really common one today.
Yeah, this level is fascinating because these people have the absolute appearance of intelligence without any of the actual substance. They are sophisticated imitators.
They mimic the behavior of smart people flawlessly. They know all the right vocabulary words, they've read the summaries of the right books, but they completely lack an actual understanding of the why behind the things they are saying.
If you want a perfect historical example of this, look at Socrates. He was an absolute master at exposing this exact type of person.
Oh, the Euthyphro story.
Yes, imagine ancient Athens, right outside a courthouse. Socrates is there facing a literal trial for his life for being impious, essentially for not properly respecting the gods. Outside the court, he runs into a man named Euthyphro,
And Euthyphro is there to confidently prosecute his own father for the death of a worker.
which is an incredibly bold move. He is radiating absolute confidence. He carries himself like the ultimate, unquestionable authority on religion and morality.
So Euthyphro is basically the ancient Greek equivalent of a modern-day Twitter debater.
That is the perfect analogy. He
Right.
knows all the right buzzwords and is supremely confident in his own righteousness.
Right, so Socrates does what Socrates does best. He plays the humble, ignorant student. He walks up to Euthyphro and asks him to define piety or holiness. And this kicks off a masterclass in exposing level 2 intelligence.
Euthyphro's first answer is the ultimate book player response. He says, piety is doing exactly what I'm doing right now, prosecuting someone who committed a crime, even if it's your own father.
But that isn't a definition at all. That is merely a single example. It's like asking someone to define what a vehicle is and they just point at a Honda Civic. It doesn't tell you anything about the underlying mechanics.
Exactly. Socrates wants the essence. What is the actual quality that makes an act holy in the first place?
So Euthyphro regroups and tries again. He says, okay, piety is what the gods love.
Which Socrates immediately dismantles.
Right, because he points out that in their own Greek mythology, the gods are constantly fighting and disagreeing with each other. What one god loves, another god absolutely hates.
Following Euthyphro's logic, the exact same act would be both holy and unholy at the exact same time. It makes no sense.
Euthyphro has to be getting visibly irritated at this point. His shiny vocabulary just isn't holding up. So he adjusts his answer for a third time, stating that piety is what all the gods love unanimously.
And this raises an important question, doesn't it? It delivers what philosophers now call the Euthyphro dilemma.
Yes. Socrates looks at this confident man and asks, is something holy because the gods love it? Or do the gods love it because it is already holy?
That is such a brain bender. It feels like a trap you just can't talk your way out of.
Because it perfectly exposes the void in level 2 thinking. If Euthyphro says an act is holy only because the gods love it, then morality is completely arbitrary.
Right. If the gods woke up tomorrow and decided they loved murder, then murder would instantly become holy.
Exactly. But if he chooses the other option, that the gods love the act because it is already holy independently of them, then he hasn't actually defined what holiness is. He has just moved the question back one step. What makes it holy in the first place?
Euthyphro is completely trapped. He has absolutely no answer. He possesses the vocabulary of a scholar, but the fundamental understanding of a child.
And we see this everywhere today. In corporate mission statements, in political jargon, level 2 people are absolutely brilliant at dinner parties. They sound incredible when they are quoting an article they just skimmed.
But the exact moment you push them and ask a why question 3 levels deep, the facade shatters and they fall apart completely. They know what happens, but they don't know why it happens.
Once you stop merely reciting other people's ideas and start applying your own logic to achieve your own ends, you cross a major threshold.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We arrive at level 3, the horse or the knight. This is where actual intelligence finally begins to show itself.
The horse isn't just mindlessly following rules like the pawn, and they aren't just reciting rules to sound smart like the book player.
They look for ways to use the rules to their advantage. They are highly strategic masters of positioning, manipulation, and hidden motives.
Picture a modern scenario to ground this concept. A guy named Rahul runs an IT services company, managing a team of engineers who build software. One day, a potential client rushes in an absolute panic.
They have a brutal, high-stakes deadline.
Right. If this software isn't completed by a specific date, the client's own boss is going to fire them.
Let's quickly contrast how the previous levels would handle this. A level 1 pawn would just blindly take the job and do it for the standard rate, following standard procedure.
A level 2 book player would probably waste time talking about the synergy and optimization opportunities of the engagement to sound impressive, while completely missing the client's emotional state.
But Rahul is operating at level 3. He looks at this desperate, sweating client, and he doesn't see a standard job. He sees leverage.
Instead of negotiating a price up front, Rahul deliberately starts stalling. He postpones their meetings. He tells the client he's extremely busy today, but maybe they can chat tomorrow.
He intentionally keeps the client waiting, watching the clock tick down, pushing them into a state of full-blown panic.
Then, at the very last possible second, Rahul swoops in. He is calm, composed, and ready to save the day. Except now, instead of charging his standard rate of $10,000, he charges $20,000.
And the client, who is completely desperate and completely out of time to find anyone else, has absolutely no choice but to pay up.
None at all.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Isn't level 3 just being a smart businessman? Rahul recognized the basic economic principles of supply and demand. He had a service, the client had an urgent need. Why is he viewed as having a fatal flaw if he successfully saved the day and maximized his own profit?
Because if we connect this to the bigger picture, level 3 intelligence is entirely short-sighted. It is transactional, and it is entirely transparent. Yes, it is highly effective in the short term. Rahul got his money. But the client isn't stupid. They're acutely aware that they were manipulated and squeezed in their moment of vulnerability.
Rahul's reputation is quietly but permanently destroyed in that circle. He becomes known as someone you fundamentally cannot trust.
Exactly. So he wins the battle, but loses the war. The horse is smart enough to pull off the maneuver, but they lack the foresight to realize they've burned the bridge.
They can never build lasting alliances. They are forced to constantly hunt for new people and new situations to exploit, because once their tricks are seen, they immediately stop working.
Which means, if you want true lasting power, you have to level up again. Enter level 4. The Vizier, or the Minister.
The Vizier is the ultimate puppet master of the board. While the horse is out there burning bridges to win a single negotiation, the Vizier is busy controlling the people who actually make the rules in the first place.
And crucially, the Vizier never ever wants the spotlight. Because being the king makes you a giant target. But being the kingmaker, that makes you indispensable.
Let's look at how this plays out in a corporate environment. Imagine a large corporation is searching for a new vice president. The two main frontrunners are candidate A and candidate B.
Now, both of these candidates are high-level horses. They are aggressive, ambitious, and totally ready to fight each other in the mud for the title.
The Vizier is also in the mix, but the Vizier has absolutely no interest in the VP role itself. The Vizier wants the actual power, but without any of the headache, accountability, or targets on their back that come with the title.
The Vizier's strategy is pure, calculated manipulation. They secretly set up a meeting with candidate A, they carefully stroke candidate A's ego, build them up, and then quietly feed them highly damaging information about candidate B.
Then, without missing a beat, the Vizier walks down the hall, meets with candidate B, acts like a loyal, trustworthy confidant, and does the exact same thing, quietly poisoning the well against candidate A.
So they weaponize the ambition of the horses. The Vizier effectively manipulates both of these aggressive players into launching a full-scale, scorched earth war against each other.
Candidate A and candidate B march into the CEO's office and systematically destroy each other's professional reputations. They literally burn themselves to the ground.
Leading to the cinematic climax of the Vizier's plan. After the dust settles and the CEO is sitting there, totally exhausted and disgusted by all the aggressive drama, the Vizier casually walks into the room.
They are calm, entirely neutral, and completely unbothered.
And the Vizier gently suggests to the CEO, "Sir, perhaps candidate A is the safer choice for now, though he will obviously need a fair amount of guidance from me to stay on track."
And the CEO, who is just desperate for peace at this point, readily agrees. Candidate A gets the shiny VP title and genuinely believes that the Vizier is his most loyal, trusted ally.
But the hidden reality is that candidate A is now nothing more than a puppet. The Vizier holds the remote control to the entire department.
The Vizier never had to fight in the mud. They never became a target. And they got exactly what they wanted. It is genuinely chilling how effective that is. But operating like this comes with a profoundly heavy price, doesn't it?
A devastatingly heavy psychological price. Because the Vizier views every single human being as a piece to be moved on a board. They are incapable of having a real friend.
Every single relationship they have is a calculated transaction.
They are forced to wear a different mask for every single person they interact with. They are brilliant, yes, but profoundly alone. They are completely trapped inside a complex, exhausting game entirely of their own construction.
Which brings us to the absolute pinnacle of this ladder, level 5, the board maker. This is the rarest form of intelligence in existence.
The board maker is fundamentally different from everyone else
Huh.
because they don't want to play the game, and they don't even want to control the players like the Vizier.
The board maker's goal is to change the rules of the game itself. They build entirely new systems that render the old rules completely obsolete.
If we look at the global financial system, we see the perfect modern arena for this. For decades, traditional finance has been tightly controlled by level 4 players.
We're talking about politicians and central bankers, viziers, who quietly manipulate interest rates, control currencies, and pull the strings for their own benefit.
Now, if a normal, highly intelligent level 3 or 4 person wanted to fight that deeply entrenched system, what would they do? They might try to start a competing bank or run for political office or launch a massive lobbying campaign for reform.
But a board maker looks at that massive convoluted structure and realizes that the problem isn't the player sitting at the table. The problem is the structure of the table itself.
And this is where the story of Satoshi Nakamoto comes in.
Huh.
Satoshi didn't waste time lobbying the government. He didn't try to build a slightly better corporate bank to compete with the existing ones. That would just be playing on their board.
Satoshi recognized that to defeat a centralized system of control, you have to eliminate the center entirely.
So he conceptualized blockchain technology and created Bitcoin. He wrote complex open-source code for a decentralized ledger and simply released it out into the world.
He created a brand new set of mathematical rules governing exactly how money could be mined, how it could be verified, and how it could be exchanged peer-to-peer without requiring any central authority, bank, or government whatsoever.
He didn't just play his pieces better on the existing board. He built a brand new board with entirely different physics.
And think about how that board maker philosophy could apply to other industries. If you hate how social media algorithms manipulate your attention, a level 3 move is trying to game the algorithm to get more followers. A level 4 move is getting a job as an executive at the tech company to tweak the dials.
But a level 5 move would be inventing an entirely new, decentralized communication protocol where algorithms literally cannot exist. You render the old system irrelevant.
But with Satoshi, there is one final detail that truly cements his status as a level 5 intellect. The absolute ultimate flex. He disappeared.
He had to. Satoshi Nakamoto did not stick around to collect the billions of dollars his creation would eventually be worth. He didn't go on a global media tour. He didn't sit on talk shows demanding credit.
He understood the ultimate paradox of his creation. To ensure that Bitcoin remained truly decentralized, truly free from the manipulation of level 4 viziers, he had to completely remove himself from the equation.
Because if he stayed, he would become a central figure. He would become a point of failure, a king to be toppled or pressured by governments.
He willingly sacrificed his own identity and his personal fame so that his creation could live on its own terms permanently without him.
He retreated into the shadows, not to pull strings and manipulate people, but simply to watch his masterpiece fundamentally change the world.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this entire journey together in a rapid-fire summary for you.
The level 1 pawn follows the rules without question, completely terrified of the sunlight.
The level 2 book player mimics the smart people but understands absolutely nothing beneath the surface.
The level 3 horse manipulates the rules for a quick, selfish win, but burns their reputation in the process.
The level 4 vizier manipulates the people to quietly control the outcome but lives a life completely devoid of genuine connection.
And the level 5 board maker rewrites the rules so completely that the world can never go back to the way it was before.
It's time for the mirror test. Honestly, evaluate yourself. Where are you operating right now? Are you still sitting in the dark, staring at shadows on a cave wall, genuinely mistaking them for reality?
Are you just repeating things you heard on a deep dive like this one, just to sound informed and impressive at dinner?
Are you pulling strategic, stressful delays on desperate clients and convincing yourself that's what intelligence looks like? Or are you finally ready to look at the board itself and start asking why the pieces move the way they do?
Moving up this ladder requires so much more than just being clever. It requires a fundamental shift in character.
It requires immense courage, The courage to walk out of that comfortable cave, even when the blinding light of reality physically hurts.
It requires deep humility, the humility to stop and admit that you don't actually understand the definitions of the big words you use with such unearned confidence.
And eventually, to reach the top, it requires the vision and the massive personal sacrifice to build something that outlasts you entirely.
Most people remain pawns, not because they lack the innate brain power, but because becoming a board maker demands a level of sacrifice that most people simply cannot bring themselves to even imagine.
The view from the top isn't just better, it is a completely different reality altogether. And it forces us to look at our own culture through a very different lens.
It leaves us with one final, very provocative thought to mull over. If the defining mark of a true level 5 intelligence like Satoshi Nakamoto is completely sacrificing your identity and your fame so that your creation can genuinely thrive, what does that say about our modern society?
We live in a world entirely obsessed with taking credit, seeking validation, and endlessly building our personal brands.
Is our constant, desperate need to be recognized and applauded the very chain that is keeping us permanently locked inside the cave?
That is a question that will absolutely keep me up tonight. Thank you for joining us on this journey up the ladder. Keep questioning the rules, keep seeking the sunlight, and we will see you next time.